Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we got a look at the ZF-6, new campaign reward ship, German destroyer, tier 7. We got blue there. That's kind of a torpedo boat build. We'll talk about the build here in the next game. I got just a quick opening sequence here. This is going to be a destroyer v2 destroyer fight here. But the key to this sequence is kind of how you have to deal with these destroyer fights. Being close to your support ships and having teammates that are going to actually shoot the destroyers, which oftentimes that's not going to be the case when you're playing with randoms. I think the ZF-6 would do better in divisions, in my opinion. But note what we got here. We got the smoke deployed, but unlike the familiar action when we're in these German destroyers, we don't have the smoke sonar combo. So right now we're relying on our teammates to spot for us here this fantastic shoot. But look at these shots. I mean, these ones are actually going on target. But a lot of times you're going to see a lot of really wonky results in terms of your accuracy with this German destroyers. But we kind of scared him off again with the help of our friends here. Now we got the Tbull. This is the guy we hit with the Torp a second ago. Much stronger guns on that thing, no doubt about it. But he's got a longer reload. So we're trying to disengage. We get out of range here. But look at these shots on him. I mean, these are point blank range, and half of them are going over, half of them are going under. And again, you know, this ship does not tend to do very well in my experience on pure 1v1 destroyer fights. So this is why I put this in here. You got to be close to your team with this thing. My theme, how I'm kind of developing the strategy with this ship as I'm playing it more and more. I've played about 10, 15 games, somewhere in that range. Kind of a utility support ship. And I get picked out some footage for the next game here to try and highlight some of my thinking on that one. But in general, if you're trying to lone wolf this thing, I don't see it really working that well, because almost every single destroyer you run into will kill you if they catch you. If you happen to get caught out in the open, you're in trouble. You got a really long time on the reload with the smoke here. We do have the reload boost, but keep in mind we're reload boosting some of the worst destroyer guns at tier 7, if not the worst destroyer guns at tier 7. So I don't really like giving up the sonar for the reload boost in this case. Some guns that would be fine with. Certainly works on the French, but on these guns, and these are the 128, kind of the Maz caliber guns, doesn't really tend to work. So we're going to take a little bit longer look at this game here. Skip the opening sequence on north while we capture the base. There was no destroyer over here, but we see this Fiji over here. We do have teammates coming to support, but at this point in time, we're looking at the map saying B looks open, so let's go ahead and go get it. So as we're going over there, we'll just kind of go over the ship stats. Middle of the pack, HP 1700. The guns reload 4 seconds pretty fast for destroyers, but very low HE damage. In fact, it's the lowest at the tier. Low fire chance, just 6% chance. Very high AP damage, 2950 on my build. And if you can get the AP going into broadside superstructures, into broadside cruisers, in those cases you can pile on a lot of damage. I'm not sure if we're going to see that in this game or not, but that's kind of niche. And once again, if the enemy's aggressive, pushing into you, and you don't have the support ships backing you up, it doesn't really matter if you're going to be able to do some quick burst damage to them. They can rush you and take you out. So ZF-6 not really able to defend itself that adequately, in my opinion, compared to a lot of the other destroyers. Main strength, hard-hitting torps, 18,400. Same damage as we see in the Le Fantasque these days. A little bit smaller reaction time, 7.79. That's not too bad for tier 7. And this is on a standard build. I'm reading off my Bay quotes, not with this goofball or blue on here. Rudder shift pretty good, 3.9. Concealment, I got double concealment base Swirsky on here. We're at 4.9 on that. Same with the Z23. So like the Germans, we're going to have some good concealment on this thing. But basically, if you weigh the strengths, you got good concealment, pretty good torps. And that's more or less it. The guns, while they may look okay on paper, in practice, they're kind of not very reliable. So in general, those of you that have Von Spee over Bay, you might actually see that preference pay off on this particular ship. I think Von Spee would work better, especially now that we do have the radio locator option for all destroyer builds. So that's kind of why I've been playing it with blue about half the time, because blue gets a very quick torpedo reload. Lowers the damage quite a bit, so you get low damage torpedo salvos under this thing, but they're constantly reloading. You're able to put them out, and we got good speed on here. So there's some aspects of this blue build that are kind of fun to play with this ship, but overall, I would probably think that Von Spee is the most effective build, and that's primarily with the slot 1 perk that enhances the reload and kicks off the speed. I believe it's Subsurface Venture, I believe is the name. I think that would be a prime part of creating a build just for the ship. So out of the Paulo Emilio, which we took a look at I think yesterday, and this ship, I prefer the Paulo personally. And here we're going to be, another part of the reason I picked this game is anti-aircraft. It's supposedly pretty good on the ship. Not bad. It doesn't seem to be quite as good as like something like a Kit or anything like that. And I'm still trying to evaluate the AA under the new rules, because this is a tier 7 match, so we should have the new carriers that have more planes. And there we actually turned in that torp and hit it before it armed. Otherwise we could have been in trouble there. But these planes should be relatively easy to shoot down compared to the ones we're used to. So I think we get 10, 15 planes shot down. I can't remember exactly what it is. Not sure how to evaluate that quite yet. Haven't really been testing the aircraft carrier component of this update quite yet, either playing as carriers or against them. That's just on the to-do list. Maybe we'll talk about that more here in the coming weeks or so. But the aircraft anti-AA aspect of this seems pretty good. And we're actually going to see later in this game, going along with that utility ship theme, where we start to have an advantage to win. And I'm actually going to be trying to support some of the other surface ships just by staying kind of close to them and overlapping our AA auras to help shoot down those things, because the carrier on this map is going to be out of our reach, and he is going to actually pose a threat to our winning until late in the game. So I'm trying to do what we can to counter him. But here, jumping into this game, we got A, we got B. C was the one we initially captured. You can see we got 2 captures. We kind of cut out C again to start the match, but we got that basically for free. And now Red's been on their way to push into that really aggressively. They're kind of taking their time to do so. But I think they've had an overload over here for the last 5 minutes or so, but they're just now getting on the cap. So a little bit slow here. We're trying to move in to support this. And we're going to do what we can do here. But look at this. We got this cruiser right here now. He's right on the edge of this island. You can see he's sticking out there right in front of him. So he's kind of playing off of it. He keeps ramming into the island, bouncing off of it. I'm thinking to myself, either he's going to die there or he's going to keep basically backing up and going forward. So I'm really kind of forced to hold these torps later. I would have liked to already launch these and kind of get them off in one giant salvo here, but we're actually kind of forced to stagger, because you can see we launched there, then he bounces off again. And I'm like, well, he's probably going to block that salvo. Don't want to waste both of them. So I'm holding on to the other one, and boom, down he does go there. So I'm not blaming him for blocking the torps, and that should really never be a frontline player's consideration in this game, because we don't have friendly fire damage. It's not his responsibility to worry about my torps. I'm just saying it was kind of unfortunate, because we did have multiple targets here. We could have potentially gotten some multiple strikes. But here, they're actually trying to catch up in terms of ship count. They're only down 1 ship at this point in time. We do have a huge lead, so I'm trying to help out over here, do some damage. We got the AP going here against these broadside ships, and these are fairly long-range shots, but we'll see some of the effectiveness. I think we're going to get maybe 4 or 5 salvos of this stuff. The guy's already angling in here. He's getting low, though. I'm going to continue to try and hit him. We do get 1 torp strike off on the Iowa there, and you can see we're already got follow-up torps reloading. Again, this is under the blue build. With that mosquito perk, you reload very quickly. You launch low damage torp. So this torpedo performance, normally you would not see the reload this quick. But we do take the Georgia down there. And now we're getting out of here, okay? We got a Fiji. We know how dangerous the Fiji is for destroyers. We got the Iowa pushing in here. Iowa's got the plane, and the smoke, we only got 30 seconds left on that. So we don't have time to sit there continuing to try and farm damage. We saw that mistake on the Paulo Emilio video, I think it was yesterday, and that mistake, it's very common, but it almost cost us the game there. So we're not going to make that same mistake 2 nights in a row. But we're kind of forced to get out of here. Now, the danger is we're tied up in ships here. They got multiple battleships. They actually have more weight on their team. Now, the Iowa's about to go down. We're going to chime it with the guns here, try and make sure he goes down. But we really only had 1 battleship and then a couple destroyers. if they kill our battleship and then, you know, say the carrier starts spotting the destroyers, maybe they win this game by eliminating all the ships. So we got to be a little bit careful here. Did chime in to get the Iowa down. Now we're just trying to reset this guy as we're sailing away here. If we're going to open water, gun battleships, this is a play we criticize very often. But if you want to do it, this is how you do it. Get them towards the edge of your max firing range, sail away from it, shoot, 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 and then eventually, as we leave the range, as we did right there, we just automatically drop spot. And that's assuming we know there's no destroyers in the area that are spotting from different angles. But in this case, we knew that wasn't the case, and we were trying to get some resets on the guy, so we elected to sail away from him. That means his shots have to travel farther than ours do to reach us, meaning they're harder to hit and easier to dodge. So we're already having the advantage by sailing away from the guy while engaging, and we're just basically riding out the clock until we drop spot automatically, just by, again, getting out of our own firing range on that ship. So that's kind of how I would normally recommend open water gunning battleships if you're going to do it as a destroyer. But here's what we were talking about earlier, okay? This guy's harassing Florida, and I noticed this thing, and I'm thinking, okay, well, we got that Fiji over there, and we need to talk about the target selection in a moment, but when we're talking about this Florida here, we don't want this guy to get some easy harassment shots on him. So I'm just sailing over here. Doesn't matter if we're spotted right now. Yeah, he might be trying to torp us, but pretty easy for us to dodge. I think he's still more likely to go for the Florida. But his support ship, the one we're worried about, Fiji, doesn't have a shot here. So it didn't really matter if we're spotted there. So we just kind of combined our auras with the battleship. But getting back to the target selection point I wanted to make earlier, you'll note when we start the game, every single game, we take about 10 seconds, you know, basically from when the game loads till it actually starts, we pull up the enemy's roster and we evaluate, okay? And in a match like this where we got 2 destroyers per team, those destroyers are extremely valuable, especially in domination mode where we need to be capturing caps. And the Fiji should be regarded by everyone who's evaluating the rosters as probably, you know, besides the destroyers, one of the bigger threats against these destroyers. So to win games of World of Warships Legends, you got to protect your own destroyers and you got to kill the enemy destroyers. So everyone should have checked the roster. The Fiji should have been one of the first ships to go down. It's the last ship to go down except for the carrier, which means we had some bad target selection. Need to work on that with this team here. But in general, if you see a radar cruiser that's one of the last ships left alive, or a really dangerous cruiser, the Fiji is extremely dangerous because it can kill destroyers in about 2 salvos on average. You know, they should never be the last ships alive, especially in low destroyer count games. If you got 6 destroyers per team, it doesn't really matter if you keep them alive or not. But games like this needs to be killed earlier, I guess is the point. And here we drop the smoke. I'm trying to pull forward towards this floor to get him in this last puff, but we don't actually get over here on time. But once again, I'm trying to combine and keep this guy alive. Note at this point in time the score is out of control, so as long as we don't die, we're going to win the game. Now, you could say just sail off to the southwest and kick back and put the controller down, you automatically win. Yes, but I figured, what the heck, let's actually test this utility strategy out. This was kind of the first game that I was like, all right, let's play like a support destroyer. And I think if you watch what we're trying to do here, we're trying to capture the bases, but in situations where we knew it was going to be safe. And then we've been trying to support our other teammates and keep them alive as best we can. I think that's probably the role for this thing. That's why I think it's probably a decent division destroyer. As a solo player, I don't think this has the strengths that I want in the destroyers, especially for a German destroyer. We still have these weird wonky guns. It's like the Maz guns. If you played a lot of that ship, you probably think the guns are pretty wonky on that one. But you know, we don't have the smoke sonar combo, which is kind of the, okay, well, we got the bad guns, but we can still take the enemy destroyers out by using these pair of consumables in conjunction with each other. Smoke and then the reload boost. I would never trade a reload boost for the sonar on the German destroyer, period. So I just don't think that it's a great combination. I mean, this is supposed to be like a captured French ship, but we don't have the French speed. We got the German slowness. We got the reload boost, yes, but you know, everything else is just kind of mostly German minus the sonar. So kind of a weird ship. I don't hate it, but not in love with it either. Anyway, that's a look at that one, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Questions, comments, leave below, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.